Yo, what's up? What's crack-a-lackin'? This is K Dizzle in the cut. You're listening to the interactive interview. Órale, arriba la raza.
You're listening to Interactive Wrestling Radio, featuring the interactive interview, courtesy of WrestlingEpicenter.com.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Blaze, 12 to 6 p.m. And joining us now is TNA superstar, as well as a member of the 3 Live crew. It's Konnan. It's a pleasure having you on the show with us, man.
Yo, what's cracking? Thanks for having me on.
Hey, it's our pleasure, as always. We got James Walsh on the phone. We were just talking a minute ago before we started this interview that we saw you on a AAA Lucha Libre pay-per-view. You were saying that took place in Guadalajara, right? It was like their WrestleMania, so to speak.
Right. It was in Guadalajara. That's the second largest city in Mexico. I hadn't wrestled there in maybe 7 years because I'd been in WCW in Puerto Rico and TNA. And we went over there and we broke the all-time attendance record. It was probably about 23,000 people. And, you know, it was a big match. It was a big win for me because Vampiro, as you could tell by the reaction, has a strong babyface following. You know, I'm a heel over there. And, you know, it was really exciting for me to be back in front of so many people because I've been wrestling in front of small crowds for a while now.
Yeah, with TNA, obviously.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, you wrestle a completely different style there. You even dress differently. You wear a singlet. You wrestle a different style over there. Which do you prefer?
Well, you know, the thing is it doesn't really matter to me. What happened was you know, the way I was raised, you know, in Miami, when I came into WCW, I kind of wanted to bring that into the ring and have a look that nobody really had. And in Mexico, you know, gangster rap, really, when I first started wrestling in Mexico in like 87, 88, you know, rap wasn't even big there yet, much less gangster rap. So there was no way I could have even dressed like that because they wouldn't have understood where I was coming from.
Right.
So
gangster rap never really caught on until, like, you know, the early to mid-'90s.
Yeah, and over there especially. So
right.
Basically over there, I had always been kind of like a real big babyface figure, a good guy, you know, the good guy of the movie for so many years. So I basically dressed as such. Then when I came to WCW, like I said, I got more into the thug gimmick, which is more like me, what I was raised as. And it's just fun, you know, to me to go to Mexico, be a heel, wrestle Lucha Libre, which is a whole different style, 2 out of 3 falls. Come to the United States, wrestle as a babyface, which is a whole different style. Same thing happened when I went to Puerto Rico. You know, for a while I was wrestling Lucha style, and then for a while I was wrestling American style. It's just good to be versatile.
Well, let me ask you this. We're going to go a little off topic here. I actually host a rap radio show called The Rap Attack, and I'm kind of interested in our first level. What kind of rap music are you a big fan of?
I just mostly like, you know, I'm really big right now to like Latino rap because basically, you know, I'm Latin, and I'm you know, like Daddy Yankee's a good friend of mine,
right
and so, you know, Baby Bash is a real good friend of mine. But I like Latin rap, I like gangster rap, only because, you know, it just reminds me of, like, where I grew up, how I grew up, and the people that I was affiliated with. And old school rap, you know, big Biggie fan, big Tupac fan, obviously. And, you know, I like mystical. I mean, I'm not really too much into, like, happy rap because it's just not my style.
Right.
Like BG. He loves Will Smith. Let me just say that out in the open. He loves Will Smith. I think he sucks. But, you know, to each his own. I mean, the guy still sells millions of records, I guess, every time he comes out.
Do you really call that rap, though? Man, I got to ask you.
Well, you know, it's like rap for kids or maybe rap for John Cena or something. I don't know. But it's not rap for me.
Have you ever had a chance to even hear John Cena's CD?
No, I haven't heard his CD, no.
And you don't want to either, right?
You know, I mean, he doesn't have anything I really want to hear. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I've met him before. He was a cool cat. I mean, he's done a real good job of, you know, probably watching TV and dressing the part and all that. But, you know, he's never carried no weight. He's never, you know, he's never, you know, he's never hustled. I mean, you know, he just doesn't come from where me and Ron Killings come from. So, to me, it's like there's nothing he says I want to hear.
He's been putting in extra time watching BET, I think.
Exactly. I mean, it's good. I mean, it's worked for him. I mean, you know, and I guess all the little kids like him. So to me, he's like kiddie rapper, you know.
Right on.
Well, what do you think of your former Wolfpack mate, Macho Man, coming up with the reps he did?
Yeah, well, that's beyond brutal. I mean, there's nothing that, there's no way that he could even in any way, shape, or form identify with, you know, with rappers, because he didn't, you know, he's from Kentucky. He's from the country. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
right.
I mean, he tried to jump on it because he probably knew it was hot for a minute. And you know, the thing about rap music, as you know, is that if, you know, Sino always says real recognizes real, you know, obviously real people, you know what I'm saying? Real rappers don't recognize him. I mean, people can tell if you've done it, if you're faking it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so, I mean, you know, Mach tried to get into it for a minute, and obviously, you know, it didn't bring him anywhere.
Well, let me ask one more question about rap. I know this is much to dismay at my co-host, but I want to ask you a little bit what you think of 50 Cent, because a lot of people kind of are on the fence on this guy. He kind of took an old gimmick that happened like 30 years ago, in wrestling terms, so to speak, and made it his own. You know what I mean? There was an old New York gangster entitled 50 Cent that rapped a little bit back in the day. What do you think about this guy? Is he too commercial for you?
You know, I don't follow 50 that much. I mean, he's got good beats because obviously Dre does a lot of his music, and you know, I mean, he must have some talent because Eminem's really the one that put him up. But you know, I don't know. I don't have no feelings pro or con. I really don't know too much about him. I think he's just trying to make as much money as he can, because there comes a rapper every few years that, you know, MTV or mainstream America gets on his tip, and, you know, they make him millionaires. And right now 50 Cent is that guy. You know, I mean, for whatever reason, he's blowing up all over the place. He does have a pretty cool movie. I saw the previews. That looks like it might be pretty good.
Yeah, to Get Rich or Die Trying.
Yeah, that looked pretty tight. You know, it looked realistic. But, you know, I mean, he's not somebody whose music I go out and buy.
True enough, true enough. All right, let's get back into the wrestling mold.
Yeah.
How excited are you that TNA is now on Spike TV, man? Is that like a real thing, kind of like you feel like you're taking part in history a little bit, maybe, in a way?
Yeah, well, you know, I was part of AAA when they first started. I was part of WCW when we took over WWF. I was part of ECW. So I've always been fortunate enough to be part of a company when it was making history. I just think it's exciting only for the simple fact I never thought we'd get here, because when I started in Nashville, and, you know, the place we started in, no offense to the Nashville fans because they were always great, the place we started in was kind of like a barnyard or a place where they had like swap meets. It was really run down, really second rate. The dressing rooms were just brutal. It was really hard to believe that we'd ever even, you know, get on national TV. And to where we began to where we've come has been just incredible. So, yeah, I'm real excited only for the fact that I think that, you know, Vince has, he's resting on his laurels. He's fallen asleep once again. And I think the product that they're putting out, by and large, is pretty boring. I mean, you know, watching the McMahons all over TV again is just murder.
Yeah, it's like a repeat of 2000.
Right, we've already seen that. We've already seen the Steve Austin, Vince McMahon. We're seeing that. And then they tried to rehash it with Cena and Bischoff.
Right.
It just seems like you've seen that before. You know, just like when Edge and Matt Hardy fell on that electrical stuff like a month ago.
Right.
We'd seen that before, I think, with The Rock or Mankind. And so it's almost like they're rehashing a lot of stuff. And you know, I just think that right now, when you watch our show and you see these young guys who aren't held back, and they're going out there, you know, I mean, the work rate. There's definitely a big difference in work rate. You know, they have the names, but I think we have the work rate for sure.
I've tried to say a few times before that, you know, when you watch the TNA product, it looks like everyone there is, like, legitimately excited. And WWE looks like everyone's just kind of going through the emotions, you know what I mean? Or the motions, excuse me, coming out, doing their thing, and leaving. And TNA, everyone's like, yeah, you know what I mean? I'm about to hook it up now.
Yeah, well, I think what happens is, and I don't, you know, I mean, obviously everybody has to toe the company line, but, you know, I have a lot of friends in WWE,
right.
And when you talk with them, the main thing that they tell me is, you got to watch what you say, you got to watch what you do. It's not friendly, it's very political, it's not fun. you know, and TNA just has a lot of young guys. You know, I consider myself one of the locker room veterans, so I kind of set the tone in the dressing room. And, you know, I'm not a hater. I don't hold nobody back. Like what was done to me in WCW. When it was my turn and Chris Jericho's turn and Chris Benoit's turn and Eddie's turn and Ray's turn to get a push, we were definitely held back by the guys on top. So that's something that, you know, I would never do to the guys in TNA. You know, just go out there, have a good time. Let's have a good time in the locker room. Of course, there's politics like there is in any promotion, but it's pretty small by and large.
Why didn't you go along with just thinking back, why didn't you go along with the Radicals when they left, since you just mentioned
Well, I was going to go along because I had gotten into an argument with Eric Bischoff when that happened around that time, and I had told him that if he let Rey Mysterio go with me, I'd be more than likely to leave. And he said no, and if you stay, I'm going to make your world miserable. And he definitely kept his word on that one. But that was the only reason, because me and Rey had, you know, we'd started together in Mexico, and then we went to ECW, and then we went to WCW, so it was like, you know, we came together, we were going to leave together.
Well, let me ask you this. I've heard a lot of people on the internet, even though you guys get such huge crowd reactions being the Three Live Crew, do you think that maybe the gimmick might be getting a little stale or something of that nature?
Yeah, well, it definitely gets stale, but that's not our fault.
Right.
That's definitely not our fault. I mean, the writers don't listen to us. They do what they want. And, you know, I think they're going to break us up soon anyways. I think BG's going to go with Kip James.
Hopefully so.
And I'm trying to bring in another kid from ROH called Homicide, who's who's a very good little worker. He's Latino, Puerto Rican. You know, I'm Puerto Rican. So, and, you know, and it'll be good because now I'll have two guys that can really go in the ring, which is Ronnie and Homicide. You know, I'm just really broken down, so I just kind of rock the mic, go in there, do my rolling clothesline, do a couple things, and get out. Almost like I'm the Michael Hayes of the Freebirds. But you know, it's just been hard, bro, because we've been there 3 years, and in 3 years, you know, you guys don't know this because you're following everything else, but we've only had really one storyline, and it's the Kip James one. I mean, we've never really been in a storyline. It's just been 3 years of going out there and going, órale, arriba la raza, and ladies and gentlemen, it's the same old crap. You know, and a lot of times the bookers just wouldn't listen, you know, to what we had to tell them. I mean, nobody knows our gimmick better than we do, you know.
Right.
So, yeah, I agree with you. It was getting stale, but it was, believe me, it was no fault of our own. And I can't believe that we still stayed over with the fans for so long, but we did.
Well, I mean, you guys are obviously a successful tag team, and I think that's something that this business is missing at this point in time. I mean, so for that reason alone, you guys are going to get, you know, good reactions.
Yeah. I just think when we go out there, we're just very charismatic. You know, we're just, and that helps a lot, too. You know what I'm saying?
Well, throwing shoes around is always great.
Yeah, the shoe's good. The most ridiculous things get over, you know.
That's the truth.
Whether it's Al Snow's head or Mr. Sacco or my shoe, you know, just the most ridiculous things get over.
Absolutely. Well, we've discussed this on the show. We actually have the Queen of Extreme, Francine, who actually hosts our live broadcasts with us, and we were discussing how Shane Douglas is able to do house shows with a company that really isn't even a company. It's just a traveling band of guys. And I was thinking to myself, why can't TNA, a company that seems to have it all together, start doing house shows and, you know, spread their audience to more common places like, say, Philadelphia?
I would like to think, you know, I'm not in the office, but just from what I hear is that I don't think that we could go anywhere just yet and really draw. I mean, WWF has trouble drawing, and they have way bigger names than we do. So I think once the fans start to get into the product, start to get into the characters, and we'll be able to do house shows. And you don't want to, you know, run before you can walk and go in there. I mean, the Carters have lost a lot of money not even doing house shows, just, you know, being in Orlando and Nashville.
Right.
I'm pretty sure that they don't want to run into losing too much more until they're sure that there's a, you know, there's a market out there for us, which I'm sure little by little there will be because our ratings have been higher than they expected.
Yeah, they
keep growing every week, too.
Yeah.
You guys are actually twice what Velocity was getting on that same time slot.
Well, we're 3 times better show, too.
Well, I'd say even more than that.
Don't undercut yourself. You got to be like 10 times, man.
Yeah. I just think that, like I told you before, I mean, when you see Stephanie going out there and Linda going out there and Vince going out there, it's the wrong type of heat. It isn't like, you know, like when Kurt Angle goes out there, he gets the right type of heat because people are still interested in seeing what he's going to do. The McMahons get that, not again type of heat, where you almost want to turn off the TV or change the channel and come back to see when something better is coming on. Not to mention that, for whatever reasons, he's just very adamant about using big guys who look good and can't work. And he's the only guy doing that, because you can go to Mexico, which, I'm wrestling there right now, Puerto Rico, which I was just there a couple years ago, ROH, TNA, and right now what people want to see is the young, athletic, smaller wrestlers. They want to see action. And while he keeps pushing all these guys like Masters and Snitsky and, the list goes on and on, we're going to be giving him AJ Styles and Ronnie Killings and, Samoa and Chris Daniels and Chris Sabin. And, you tell me what match you'd rather watch.
Well, I've got to say, TNA has obviously, hands down, a far better work rate. With maybe one or two exceptions, like you said, of a Kurt Angle maybe.
Right.
Do you really think that work rate is really that important at this point in time in the wrestling business, or do you feel it's more about the production work that's really going to grab the fans and kind of the whole atmosphere?
That's a good question, because sometimes I'll read, I like to try to get on the internet like maybe twice a week. Usually I'm looking like at football, but I'll get on a wrestling site.
Right.
And sometimes, I'll hear like, oh, well, this guy's work rate is so good and this guy blew up. And, the normal fan that's sitting there does not know what blowing up means, does not know what a good work rate is, what taking bumps means. They don't know any of that wrestling vernacular. All they know is were they entertained or not. That's the bottom line. So when I go out there with Ronnie and BG and, the people pop and they get happy and they scream, they were just entertained,
Right.
Or when Cena goes out there, a lot of people are feeling him right now, they were just entertained. Or when Eddie Guerrero goes out there, they were just entertained. I really do believe that work rate, and it's mostly the internet, fans, is, what would be the word? I just think that it's a combination of production and your personality,
right?
If you can talk on the mic, and your work rate. I think it's a combination of all three. And as we've seen, usually the guys that are better talkers than workers usually get over quicker.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
You look at someone like a Chris Benoit, he's not the best talker, a great worker. It took him years to get over.
Exactly. And then you look at Cena, who's a terrible worker but a great talker, and he's super over.
He got over in like a month.
Right, yeah, so it's, if you can talk, you can pretty much, you know what I'm saying? And that's what helps somebody like Eddie Guerrero, who's a great worker, but he's a great talker.
Yeah.
Well,
definitely.
Well, we can't thank you enough for your time here. Let me ask you this. Will we be seeing you at the upcoming pay-per-view this Sunday, Bound for Glory?
Yeah, we're going to be wrestling the Canadians. Those guys, young guys, really cool, really want to, really respectful. They're always a pleasure to work with. They always get, really good heat, so it makes the match easier. There's nothing worse than, going against guys that, the people don't really care about. So it's always good because the people, it's like there's no shades of gray with us. It's like we know the people are going to cheer for us. We know they're going to boo them.
Right.
And it's a fun match. I hate when heels go out there and they try to become baby faces. It just makes the match harder for the baby faces. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Do you find that that's a big problem in wrestling right now with a lot of the younger guys trying to actually have the pulse on the crowd reaction and know what to do with it?
Of course, because they're out there and they're trying to get their moves over, and then they're asking for applause. And I'm like, well, look, if you want to be a baby face, come to this side. Because the heel, it's like, for example, in Mexico, the people, they're always cheering me because I've been there for so many years, so they kind of look at me as a legend. And I don't ask them, and I'll look on the other side and I'll see the poor baby face. Sometimes I get a bigger reaction than them, and what I do is I just flip off the fan and I tell them to go to hell. You know what I'm saying? That's
right.
What a heel should do. If they bring me an autograph, I throw it back into the audience. I don't try to get myself over at the expense of the baby face. You're not doing your job. You know what I'm saying? That was a problem. That was a problem Chris Daniels was having, and I kind of, I got on him about it a little bit. I think Raven got on him a little bit. He didn't do it purposely, but it's like, bro, you're just making the other guy's job that much harder.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I saw the 101 Reasons Not to Be a Professional Wrestler, and one comment that you made in there really struck my interest was you believe that there will be a Lucha Libre-style promotion in America that will take over the wrestling business.
Right.
Do you really believe that?
Oh, yeah, positively, and I probably will be behind it. Right now we're talking with Univision, and in case you didn't know, in New York, which is the biggest radio and TV market in the United States, in August, the Univision affiliate, now Univision, for those that don't know, is a Spanish-speaking station. It's only in Spanish. For the first time in history, in August, it became the most watched station in New York. So it was watched more than ABC, CBS, or NBC. You're starting to see a lot of, everybody knows that there's Hispanics in Miami, Chicago, New York, Dallas, Phoenix, mostly west of the Mississippi. What people don't know is now there's a huge migration of Hispanics into Louisville, Kentucky, Nashville, Tennessee, Omaha, Nebraska, Des Moines, Iowa, because what's happening is that they're going over there because the cost of living is lower. The immigration doesn't mess with them as much. There's meat packing plants down there. There's horse ranches. There's agricultural fields. So there's huge influx of Hispanics in places that you wouldn't expect. And so I really believe that, right now those people don't have, don't have anywhere to watch Lucha Libre unless they watch it on Galavision, which is usually months behind.
Right.
And that's number one. Number two, unlike the United States, where wrestling probably isn't in the top 5, favorite sports of kids or adults. I mean, in Mexico, right after soccer, wrestling is king. So they're very loyal. You look at the boxing pay-per-views, and it's mostly, Eric Terrible, Morales, Juan Antonio Barrera, Chavez when he was around, what's this kid's name from Puerto Rico, Cotto, Oscar De La Hoya. It's mostly the Hispanic boxers that are making these big pay-per-views now. So, the Hispanic fans are very, very, very loyal. So I really believe that if I can get something on Univision, which I'm working on right now, you will be amazed. They just had a show in L.A. I couldn't believe it, and this proves my point. They just had a show in L.A. at the Forum, and they had Mil Mascaras, who's got to be like 63 years old.
Right.
They had another guy called Tinieblas, who's probably about 60 years old himself. And they teamed up with Santo, El Hijo del Santo, and they wrestled some other guys, Blue Panther and Scorpio. I mean, nobody really big, 2 super old guys, and they still drew 5,000 fans. So can you imagine if you have a show, a weekly show geared to them with incredible high flyers from Mexico, it's going to draw, and it's going to do incredible ratings.
Well, here's a prime example of it. You're talking 2 guys that know no Spanish, and we sat there and watched the whole Lucha Libre pay-per-view.
Right, like I understood the word.
I didn't know what they were saying, but I was like, it's good.
Right.
I liked it.
And not only that, think about this, the most watched, and I'm sure you guys know this, the most watched show amongst Hispanics in the United States is SmackDown, a show that basically only has 2 Hispanics. Now Juventud came and Psychosis and Super Crazy, but it's basically been the Eddie and Ray show. For a while, right. Chavito was there too. But, just 2 Latinos, because they're just crazy to see anything that has Latino, anything that they can. There's not that many shows with Latino on it on TV, maybe George Lopez. So, and they love wrestling. They grow up with wrestling. It's like I said, after soccer, it's the biggest sport in Mexico. So when they come to the United States, they want to see what they grew up watching. And what happens is Eddie Guerrero and Rey Mysterio, who are great wrestlers and great friends of mine, they don't do lucha anymore. They do they incorporate some lucha moves into an American wrestling match. Mm-hmm. So if I can give them that high pace, that fast-paced 2 out of 3 falls that they're used to with the mask and the ring announcer in Spanish and a mariachi band before the show and the publicity in Spanish and a guy selling tacos and, what they grew up with, bro, I'm telling you, it's going to do. That's why I really do believe what I said. It will take over.
Wow.
It's definitely, everyone wants something to call their own, man. There's definitely a market for it.
Exactly, and it's like if you went, the last example I could give you is this. If you went to England, right?
Right.
I was in Europe for a while. If you go to England, for example, soccer is king. They are just soccer crazy. Mexico's the same way. And that's all you read about in the sports page. You open up the London Sun, like the first 6 pages is all soccer. It's ridiculous.
David Beckham, right?
Yeah, or and so then, if you're an American living in England, you're like, wow, soccer sucks, and you don't really watch it because you grew up watching football. If they bring like an exhibition game, which they just did in Mexico City 2 weeks ago, but if they bring an exhibition game to England and you're living there, and it's, let's say, you know, your favorite team against another team, you'll probably go see it because you grew up watching football and you want to see American football. Same thing here. The Mexicans want to see what they grew up watching, lucha libre, and they'll come and they'll see it, but nobody's giving it to them.
Well, we really cannot thank you enough for your time, man. Even more than generous with us. We definitely appreciate it. It's been a great conversation, man.
No problem. Thank you for the support, and, you know, I really do believe you're going to see bigger and better things from TNA, and hopefully one day, maybe the next time you interview me, we might be talking about the Univision group.
Hey, that'd be great. We look forward to speaking with you again, man.
All right. Thank you, man.
Take it easy, brother.
Peace.